It was a regular Tuesday when I decided I was done being the family punchline. Not during a dramatic dinner or a big family blowout. Just a quiet moment on my phone, staring at a cartoon meme in the family group chat. You know the kind, where boomer humor collides with outdated GIFs and motivational quotes from someone's cat calendar. Normally, I swipe past it all, let it buzz in the background like static. But this one stopped me cold. The image was of a scruffy-looking cartoon guy in a backward cap, holding a wrench upside down while staring dumbly at a furnace spewing smoke. In bold, tacky red font. Trade school, where dreams go to sweat. Underneath? My name. Tagged. Twice. Then came the cherry on top, my aunt's comment. LOL sorry not sorry woman shrugging winking face. My cousin Rachel replied with a row of laughing emojis. Another cousin dropped a skull emoji. My mom? She hit it with the OL, haha react. And me? I just stared. I didn't argue. I didn't comment. I didn't even roll my eyes. I just pressed leave group, and that was that. Not with a bang, just a click. Because here's the truth. If they thought I was the family's joke, I wasn't sticking around to laugh along. I didn't leave that group chat to make a scene. I didn't need drama. What I needed was peace. Peace from being mocked for the one thing I was finally proud of. They didn't know me, not really. Not the real me. I've always been hands-on. Even as a kid, I was the kind who took things apart just to see how they worked. Radios, remotes, kitchen timers, I didn't care. If it had wires or gears, I wanted to understand it. When I was 11, our microwave broke. While my dad was on the phone about warranties and replacements, I was already digging into it with a butter knife and a screwdriver I'd borrowed from the junk drawer. Did I fix it? Not even close. But the gears turning in my brain that day? That was the beginning. Later, when our porch light kept flickering, I didn't wait for my parents to call an electrician. I researched some dusty old forum 3 clicks past where Google stops being helpful, and figured it out. Rewired it. Got it working. My room looked less like a teenager's space and more like a starter garage. Extension cords, spare switches, broken devices stacked like trophies. I didn't have toys. I had tools. And they never understood that. My dad's an accountant, the kind who once laminated a spreadsheet to hang above his desk like a family crest. He always told me, "You've got potential, but you need direction." He said it like he was giving me a compliment, but all I heard was judgment. My mom teaches high school biology. To her, my experiments were adorable. That's what she called them. Adorable. Like the time I made a DIY humidifier using a fan, a bowl of water, and a repurposed fish tank heater. She called it a cute distraction, and then went back to grading lab reports. But when my cousin Rachel posted about her internship at some consulting firm that no one understood but everyone praised, they threw her a cake. Literally. A sheet cake that said, "So proud of you." I once shared that I was learning to design ventilation systems, and my uncle asked if I was doing duct cleaning like those scam ads on late-night TV. I stopped bringing things up after that. High school wasn't much better. I wasn't failing, but I wasn't one of those honor roll, AP class, science fair types. I was just background noise. My grades were fine. My sketchbooks were filled with wire schematics and duct layouts. But no one cared about the kid doodling heat exchange systems. After graduation, I tried college. 2 semesters. I gave it a fair shot. I sat in classes about macroeconomics and freshman philosophy, listening to kids talk about abstract truth, while I daydreamed about condenser coils and airflow ratios. It wasn't that I couldn't keep up. I just didn't want to. So I left. I dropped out. And for the first time in my life, I chose something that made sense to me. Trade school. Specifically HVAC systems. When I told my family, the silence was louder than any shout. Except for Aunt Rachel, of course. She broke it with a chuckle and said, "Well, at least you'll always have toilets to fix." As if the only reason someone went into a trade was because they flunked out of everything else. Then came the jokes. "Oh, you're going to be the family handyman. Better keep those tools handy for when our fridge breaks." And the ever-popular, "Hey, if that doesn't work out, there's always lawn care." Even my mom tried to help, with a stack of pamphlets for bridge programs back to traditional college. So I stopped talking about it. I studied. I worked part-time with a local HVAC technician who didn't care that I wasn't a future business leader. He cared that I showed up on time, asked questions, and respected the tools. That was enough. I didn't need praise. I needed a purpose. And for the first time, I felt like I was building something real. So yeah, that meme hit me harder than it should have. Because it wasn't just a bad joke. It was confirmation. A reminder that no matter how hard I worked, no matter how skilled I became, they still saw me as a punchline. A dropout with a toolbox. And that's why I left the chat. Not in anger, just clarity. I didn't expect anyone to notice I'd left the chat. I didn't flounce out or leave a dramatic farewell message. Just a silent exit, like walking out of a bad movie halfway through. Part of me thought, maybe someone would reach out. Maybe my dad. Or my cousin Jeremy, the one who once shadowed me for career day in middle school and left saying, "Dude, your toolbox is like Iron Man's." But no one texted. Not a single "you good." Or "hey, what happened?" Just silence. At first, it stung. I'd scroll back through old messages. The birthday wishes, the engagement announcements, the endless Aunt Rachel quotes about gratitude and forgiveness, and feel like I'd been erased from the narrative. Like I'd slipped off the edge of the family map, and no one noticed. But silence has a funny way of evolving. It starts off sounding like rejection. But over time, it starts sounding a lot like freedom. I poured everything into my work. Trade school wasn't just school. It was purpose. It was structure. It was a way to build something that didn't need their approval to exist. I learned HVAC systems, how to navigate crawl spaces without panicking, how to diagnose a failing heat pump just by listening to the hum of its motor. I was finally in a world that made sense. My instructor, Sam, retired Navy, back like a rusted hinge, permanently grumpy. He was the first real mentor I ever had. After I butchered a thermostat install one day, he spent 15 minutes tearing me apart, then handed me his spare multimeter and said, "You've got good hands. You just need to trust them. Don't let anyone who's never held a wrench tell you what to do with yours." It wasn't some tear-jerker movie moment, but it stuck. That man, with his coffee breath and scarred knuckles, saw more in me in one afternoon than my family had seen in years. So when winter rolled around, I was ready. Not just mentally, practically. People think HVAC work is seasonal. And they're right, to a point. But winter? That's the Super Bowl. When the first cold snap hits and every heater from here to the next town groans like a dying walrus, that's when you find out who people really rely on. I was doing 16-hour days. Diagnosing, repairing, patching, crawling under houses older than statehood. I lived on convenience store burritos and cheap black coffee that could burn a hole in your tongue. My van heater barely worked, but I was too busy fixing everyone else's to notice. That's when it happened. A text came in. An unknown number. No emoji. No greeting. Just, "Hey, it's Rachel. The furnace stopped working. It's freezing. Please, can you help us?" I stopped scrolling. 2 weeks earlier, she was laughing at a cartoon version of me. Now she was bundled up in layers, watching her thermostat drop like a rock in a lake, and she needed the family dropout with the tool belt. The universe is never subtle, is it? I didn't respond. Not right away. I didn't even get mad. I just stared at my phone. Then I scrolled through my camera roll. Found the meme. You know the one, crooked cartoon man, wrench upside down, red font. My name tagged twice. I screenshotted it and typed. Still think I'm a failure? I hit send. Nothing for 5 minutes. Then the typing bubble. Gone. Back again. Gone again. I laughed. Out loud. In a freezing crawl space that smelled like cat litter and regret, I laughed. That night, I slept like a rock. The next morning, my phone had exploded. Cousins, aunts, even my mom, who once said trade work was blue-collar survival, messaging me with a single unifying theme. Can't you just let it go? Let it go. They had no idea what it felt like to be mocked for your life choices by the same people who now expected you to swoop in and save the day. Aunt Rachel messaged again, this time trying to sound diplomatic. Maybe I took the meme too far. I didn't mean it personally. The kids are freezing. Please. That please was heavy. And I'm not heartless. I don't want children shivering under blankets. But I also know the sting of being laughed at for years, then only contacted when you're finally useful. So I replied, with a business card. Digital, professional. Appointments available. Standard rates. Emergency fee applies. 10 seconds later, my phone rang. Rachel. I didn't answer. Another message. But we're family. That's when it hit me. Now suddenly I was family. Not when I enrolled in trade school. Not when I passed certification. Not when I worked my way up without a penny from them. No, I became family when the thermostat hit 50 and the pipes started freezing. Funny how that works. The day after Rachel texted me, word must have spread like wildfire through the family group chat I wasn't even in anymore. Because suddenly my inbox turned into a full-on disaster hotline. Jeremy, my cool cousin who once called me HVAC Harry Potter as a joke, left a voice message. Hey bro, long time. Listen, we've got some frost on the inside of the windows. That's bad, right? Hit me back. Then it was Uncle Terry, Aunt Denise, even my dad. They all wanted one thing, help. Not just with furnaces, but advice, consultations, thermostat resets. Suddenly, I was the golden goose of heating. It would have been funny if it weren't so transparent. No one asked how I was. No one apologized for the jokes or the years of belittling. No one said they were proud I made something of myself. They just wanted heat. I showed the messages to my coworker Mike while we were parked outside a 3-story Victorian with a boiler that sounded like it was haunted. He squinted at my screen and said, "So, you're finally useful to them?" I shrugged. He handed me a donut. Charge double. Family discount in reverse. We both laughed, but the truth was, I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to make them suffer. What I wanted was so much simpler. Respect. Not even praise. Not admiration. Just to be seen for what I actually am. Not who they wanted me to be. Not a fixer-upper or a backup plan. Just a man who picked a different path and made it work. A week passed. Temperatures dropped even more. It hit single digits one night, and the news was warning about power outages and frozen pipes. I was running calls from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I barely had time to eat. My hands were cracked from cold, and my van floor looked like a snowbank. Then my mom texted. Not a meme. Not a guilt trip. Just, your dad and I could use some help. The heat won't stay on. I tried calling a local company, but they said it's a 4-day wait. 4 days. In a house with thin insulation, an aging heat pump, and parents who still pretended I was just figuring life out. I sat with the message. Let it sit in my chest like a stone. Part of me wanted to go. To be the bigger person. To show them what I'd become. But another part, the part that still remembered hearing, "You'll never be successful in overalls," said, "Let them wait." I didn't reply that day. Or the next. Not because I wanted them to suffer. But because I wanted space. Time. Time to choose rather than react. By now, I'd created boundaries. Booked appointments only. No emergency calls unless pre-approved. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was trying to be professional. The same professionalism I was mocked for developing was now my shield. 2 days later, my phone rang again. Dad. I let it ring. He left a voicemail. Hey, Josh. I know things haven't been great between us. I just wanted to say, I might have underestimated what you do. We're proud of you, and we could use your help, but only if you want to. Okay. That voicemail was 4 sentences, but it felt like a novel. It wasn't perfect, but it was something, and that mattered. I called him back. Did I jump in my van that instant and speed to their house like some wintertime superhero? No. I booked them properly, just like any other client. Slotted them in 2 days out. Emergency rate waived. Not because they asked, because I chose to. I showed up to their house like any other job. Tool bag in hand. Company jacket on. Clipboard in the other. And I looked my dad in the eyes and said, "Let's see what we're working with." He nodded. No jokes. No sarcasm. Just respect. And when I finished the job, when the heat kicked back on and my mom wrapped herself in a warm blanket, visibly relaxing for the first time in days, I didn't get a round of applause. I didn't get a check either. What I got was my dad standing in the doorway, rubbing the back of his neck like he always did when he didn't know how to say something difficult. And then, "We were wrong about you. About a lot of things." That was it. No parade. No big confession. But it was enough. A few days after I fixed my parents' heating system, I woke up to something unexpected. An invitation. Not a formal one. Not mailed or framed. Just a group text. Apparently someone, maybe Rachel, maybe my mom, had re-added me to the old family chat. The same one I'd left months ago without a word. No apology. No welcome back. Just my name in the participants list again. At first, I thought about leaving. Again. What changed? They needed me when it was cold. But now that the temperature was rising again, was I still family? But I didn't leave. Not right away. I sat with it for a bit. Scrolled through the messages. It was the same chaos as always, uncle memes, blurry pictures of someone's casserole, someone else's baby in a hat, weather complaints, and a stream of LOLs that barely passed for conversation. But then, in between a photo of Jeremy's new snow tires and a forwarded joke about plumbers, I saw something that made me stop. A message from Rachel. Just 2 lines. I was wrong. About you. I'm sorry. No emoji. No exclamation point. Just honesty. That message? It hit harder than the meme ever did. I thought about responding. Thought about writing something sarcastic. Glad the frozen pipes brought clarity. Guess trade school wasn't such a joke after all. But I didn't. I simply replied, "Thanks. Stay warm." Then I muted the chat. Not because I was mad. Not to be petty. But because I didn't need it anymore. You see, something had changed. I used to need that group. Need their approval. Need their validation. Need to be invited, accepted, seen. But now? I had my own business. I had my own tools, my own clients, my own schedule. I had people calling me not because they were related to me, but because they trusted me. Because I was good at what I did. Because I showed up. And that version of me? He didn't beg to be seen anymore. He chose who to show up for. Who to forgive. And when to say, that's enough. Epilogue 1 year later. Funny thing happens when people finally see your worth. They start pretending they always did. Aunt Denise sent me a birthday card this year with a Starbucks gift card and a note that said, "For the best fixer in the family." Jeremy asked if I could talk to his son about trade school. Apparently, college wasn't working out. Even Rachel, she referred me to 2 of her friends. I took the jobs. Charged full price. No hard feelings. Just boundaries. Because here's the thing. Forgiveness isn't weakness. But forgetting? That's a choice. And I remember everything. The jokes. The eye rolls. The years of silence. But also, the first time my tools fixed more than a furnace. They fixed my self-respect.